Countless protesters erupt where? In Israel, after 6 hostages are killed in Gaza. Here it is.
Tonight, tens of thousands of protesters packing into central Tel Aviv in Israel's biggest protest since the war began, to voice their anger after 6 more hostage bodies are found in Gaza, including Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Polin. Israeli forensics determining that Hamas shot all 6 of them at close range between Thursday and Friday morning. The protest tonight fueled by outrage at Prime Minister Netanyahu. 40-year-old Kamel Gat taken from Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th among those 6 killed. Her cousin Gil Dickman saying Netanyahu should be held responsible for the hostage deaths.
Our Prime Minister Netanyahu decided that he wants to sacrifice her and all the other hostages to keep on fighting this war. And now we see what happens. Netanyahu, you killed them. You killed them. It might not have been you who pulled the trigger, but you placed the gun over their head.
I'm with you, dear brother. Put up the picture. Are you going to say they're anti-Semitic? Are you going to say they're adversarial to Jews? They are Jewish. They are Semitic. So what storyline do you have now? What pivot do you have now? With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. You see, the Jewish people, the Israelis, blame Netanyahu for the original lack of security. The vast majority of Israelis oppose Netanyahu's out-of-control war. The vast majority of Israelis are for humanitarian aid. Now you see the protest. The vast majority of Israelis said no to Netanyahu's continued leadership before he decided to seize power by utilizing a tragedy and politicizing it. Hundreds of thousands of protesters took to Israel's streets in fresh fury on Monday over the government's failure to secure a ceasefire-for-hostages deal with Hamas. Demonstrations could be seen in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and other places across the country, fueled by the killing in Gaza of 6 hostages. Whose bodies were retrieved by Israeli soldiers this weekend. Several gatherings targeted the homes of the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, with protesters lighting fires and chanting, "You are the leader, you are guilty," near one of Netanyahu's private residences. Netanyahu has been accused of stalling efforts for a deal by some hostage families and their supporters. More than 100 hostages, including 35 believed to be dead, are still being held in Gaza, the vast majority of them taken during Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, when some 1,200 people were brutally killed and more than 200 taken captive. We absolutely stand against those actions as well. The scenes outside of the Israeli leaders' homes culminated a day of anger that brought much of the country to a halt, following a call by the country's largest labor union, known as Histadrut, to shut down the entire economy. Flights in and out of Tel Aviv's international airport was stopped for 2 hours. But in a press conference on Monday evening, what happened? He was suspended. The Israeli leader struck a note of defiance, batting away criticisms, including from U.S. President Joe Biden, that he is not doing enough to secure a deal. He asked for forgiveness from the families of the 6 hostages for failing to bring them back alive, but insisted it should be Hamas that has to make the concessions. He also vowed to retaliate and extract a heavy price from the militant group that controls Gaza for the killing of the 6 hostages, whose autopsy showed they were shot at short range on Thursday or Friday morning. Netanyahu, don't you get it? Don't you get it, man? The families are saying enough killing. Your people are saying enough with the vengeance. It's not working. It's just more death. It's more destruction. You cannot stop fire with more fire, is what they're trying to tell you. Your lack of insight and wisdom here is staggering. It's unbelievable. Netanyahu's defiant stance following the discovery of the 6 hostages has thrown further doubt on the negotiations for a ceasefire-for-hostage deal. Even before the killing of the 6 hostages, the talks had become bogged down, with one key disagreement centering on the control of a border area known as the Philadelphia Corridor. During a cabinet meeting over the weekend, the Israeli defense minister had lambasted the Israeli government for what he said was prioritizing control of the corridor over a deal to free hostages, calling it a moral disgrace. Hamas, meanwhile, escalated its own threats on Monday with a public warning that more hostages held in Gaza will return inside coffins if Israel attempts to free them militarily. A statement released by the militant group said that its fighters guarding prisoners held in the Palestinian enclave had received new instructions on how to deal with hostages if Israeli forces get close, and released an illustration and released an illustrated poster apparently showing hostages threatened with a gun. Granted, any loss of life, the terrorist attack from Hamas, for others who decide to engage in this kind of free-for-all when it comes to taking a soul, taking a human body from existence on this plane, must be condemned. But see, the Israeli people, they've already condemned Hamas. Even the Palestinians condemned Hamas when they decided not to elect them as part of their leadership. But you, sir, you, Netanyahu, you are in service to them. So they're not ignoring what Hamas is doing. They are simply deciding not to ignore you anymore and what you're doing, because they put you in power at one point. Now, that point, that moment, that era is gone. They have no trust in you because of your out-of-control vengeance. How many more have to die? How many Palestinians have you killed in the name of Hamas? How many children have you killed in the name of a terrorist organization? Those children had nothing to do with this. How many more are you willing to kill? How many more Israeli hostages are you willing to allow die before you do the noble thing? Sharon, thoughts here.
Scores will have to continue. The killing will have to continue. And as heinous and disgusting it is for mothers and fathers and siblings to learn that they were alive. They were alive, and there was an opportunity. I don't think that Hamas is the only one celebrating that these folks were murdered, but I'm going to leave it there. But I do know that the Israeli leader does not want peace. Delphi, you talked about it, Rashad. What's on the border here with Egypt? Look where he started the war. He does not want peace. He wants control. It is disgusting. Right.
And now those in his own government are calling him out for the very thing you just said. It's as if they want control more so than a remedy. Now everybody sees it, including members of his own cabinet.
And
All right.
Biden, who's now saying
Yeah.
the quiet part out loud, he has nothing
That's
to
right.
lose.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. We'll bring you updates, guaranteed to be something.